Enter the humorous and chaotic world of the Three Stooges, as we reveal some of the most shocking facts hidden from fans for decades. From their turbulent behind-the-scenes relationships to their startling comic origins, Larry, Moe, and Curly are more than they seem. Did you know that Moe Howard managed the group's business and finances off-screen and on? Curly, whose true name was Jerome Horwitz, nearly didn't make the trio. His lively performance and charming attitude made him a fan favorite, but his health issues were a secret that led to his resignation from the group. Even more shocking, the Stooges gently mocked the Axis forces during World War II, making them one of the first comic groups to do so. Join us as we explore the unseen tales, behind-the-scenes drama, and little-known truths about the renowned comic trio that continues to entertain and astonish us. We reveal Three Stooges facts that were concealed from fans. You won't believe it. Vaudeville beginnings. In 1922, the Three Stooges debuted as a member of the vaudeville group Ted Healey and his Stooges. Before violinist Larry joined the group, brothers Moe and Shm were the first to do so. Healey, the group leader, was not present when 20th Century Fox extended an offer of a studio contract to the Stooges in 1930. This offended Healey, who made sure that Fox rescinded the offer, arguing that the Stooges were his workers and so could not depart from him. Shm Leaves. During these early years, Ted Healey had complete authority over the Stooges, which made their working lives challenging. Healey was a harsh guy, and while he had appointed Moe as the trio's business manager, Shm no longer found the pleasure. Shm departed the Stooges to work in Brooklyn as a comedy film producer. Curly's low profile. Curly, Moe's younger brother, was the guy who took Shmp's position. Curly is the most gregarious and impressionable of the three in the short films featuring the Three Stooges. In actuality, however, Curly was a reserved individual who avoided attention from strangers and favored the company of dogs over humans. His on-screen persona was limited to situations in which he was either with the other Stooges or very inebriated, an occurrence that increased in frequency over time. Healeys Death. Drinking made Healey more of a pain, which had soured relations between the Stooges and him for many years. It's unclear why he died in 1937 at the age of 41. He celebrated his son's birth at the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles. Later that evening, a heart attack claimed his life. Presumably, Healey's facial bruising may have shown something different. Even now, there are lingering rumors that the night before he died, he either began or got into a fight. This was understandable, given his volatile temperament and combative demeanor. Unfortunately, nobody's certain what happened. Keeping options open. Columbia Pictures engaged the Stooges to produce 8 short films over 40 weeks. Although the three put in a lot of overtime, they also gained popularity from viewers who enjoyed their humorous antics. Unfortunately, Columbia president Harry Cohn, who saw the Stooges as a low-cost item with great commercial potential, was keeping them secret about their renown. Their contracts had an open option put in by him, forcing them to resign each year. This deplorable intimidation technique made the Stooges feel like Cohn might fire them anytime since they weren't popular with the crowd. Money troubles. The Stooges were underpaid compared to their box office pull, even with Cohn's open contract. They made $1,000 a week when they originally signed the Columbia deal, which in the 1930s was all right. Then they realized they had to divide that $1,000 between them since they were considered a single act. They were still required to divide the $7,500 weekly income they began receiving after receiving an Oscar nomination and later in their careers. Running in circles. A frequent gag in the Three Stooges movies featured a crazy Curly circling in circles. Subsequent screenplays purposely included this because the audience found it amusing. However, it was initially intended to be a fully improvised scene for whenever Curly would forget his lines. Daring stunts. The Stooges often performed risky stunts in their movies. These were usually staged for the camera, although sometimes they weren't. For instance, Larry once had a fountain pen buried in his skull when a character served as a human dartboard. Hurt, Curly had stitches in his forehead when another joke went awry. A few hours later, he was back on the screen sporting a wig that concealed the bruises. The Stooges drew a line in the sand during the 1934 shooting of Three Little Pigskins. A team of professional football players was going to rush them. When they declined, the stunt doubles who were utilized in the scenario suffered from fractured bones and cracked ribs, among other catastrophic injuries. Curly's Limp. The Stooges made extensive use of physical eccentricities to create humor. However, the reason for one of them was an accident that happened to a youngster. A humorous aspect of Curly's attractiveness as a character was his limp. Since he had shot himself in the ankle while cleaning a gun as a youngster, it was truly natural, even if he tried to make it humorous in the shorts and live shows. Cheapskates. Although the Three Stooges movies were well-liked by critics, the industry continued to see them as B-films. As a result, they were often obliged to take shortcuts and work on sets that had already been used for other movies. They borrowed whole outfits and props from previous shows in addition to sets. Shaved head shame. A studio executive didn't think Curly could make people laugh, so he shaved his head to get a role, though we think it's humorous that he used to have a handlebar mustache and a thick mop of hair, but he felt ashamed of his shaven head since he thought ladies didn't find him appealing that way. He would eventually resort to always covering his head with hats. Because of his nervousness, he drank and ate a lot while on tour, and by the middle of the 1940s, his weight was seriously affecting his health. Moe's bowl cut. Speaking of hairstyles, Moe's bowl cut style made his head one of the trio's most easily recognized. Ironically, Moe's mother chose to grow her son's hair out because she wanted a girl. This is why Moe had curly hair as a youngster. Moe chopped his hair because of severe bullying at school, and he lived with the bowl cut for the rest of his life. Curly's bad health. Curly's long been a crowd favorite thanks to his lighthearted buffoonery and innocent demeanor. But as the years passed, his health started to deteriorate. This was probably caused by his binge drinking and eating too much. He struggled to play the part in the movies, and in 1946, a stroke brought an abrupt end to his career. Before having a second stroke and passing away in a wheelchair, he had a cameo in one more Stooges movie. At 48, Jerry Curly Howard became the first Stooge to pass away. Shm's return. Shm rejoined the Stooges after Curly's first stroke. Shm discovered that producers and directors of the movies from this period wanted him to play a part like Curly's before his departure. Curly had elicited the strongest response from the audience, but Shm was interested in something other than imitating his brother. Furthermore, fans and reviewers alike thought his performance was unimpressive anytime he attempted. Shm passed away shortly after while filming. Stand-ins were brought in to provide the idea that Shm had finished these movies, and their video was mixed in with previously shot scenes of Shm. Childhood injury. Larry is often seen as having the greatest musical taste among the three in the short films. Although his violin playing was exceptional, the true account of how he acquired those abilities could be clearer. Larry's father was a jewelry manufacturer who etched his pieces with acid. One day when Larry was very little, he attempted to swallow the acid, and his father swatted it out of his hand. Larry's arm got some of the acid on it, causing the skin and muscles to deteriorate. Larry's father enrolled his son in violin lessons to help strengthen the injured muscles in his arm, which appeared to help repair some of the damage. Moe's pie skills. Moe was the team's business manager, and the sibling was most concerned about his finances. As such, he felt obligated to ensure that the film's meager budgets made the most of their few resources and props. Even though there were several situations in the movies when pies were thrown, Moe believed it was crucial to consistently strike his target since there weren't many pies on set. He devised a method for hurling the pies, determining their potential trajectory and likelihood of striking an unfortunate individual in the face based on their weight. Dancing Larry. One thing about Larry that some people may need to be aware of is his passion for dancing. He frequently visited Brooklyn's Triangle Ballroom and would dance whenever possible. In reality, he was often running late for practice and shooting as he got over his many dance hall hangovers. Even though he was mostly paralyzed, he would try to dance in his wheelchair after retirement. Slapstick. You're right if you've ever questioned why the sound the characters make when they smack each other isn't precisely like a slap. Moe, who normally performed the slapping, thought the actual thing wasn't convincing enough, so a sound effect was deployed. The fact that Moe sometimes gave the other men actual slaps makes things much stranger. Oscar nomination. Many people must be aware that the Stooges were considered for an Oscar. Considering that comedy is now one of the genres the Academy tends to disregard the most, it seems hard to believe. Their 1934 film Men in Black, a parody of the 1934 picture Men in White starring Clark Gable and Myrna Loy, earned them a nomination. The Stooges were only nominated once, but at the moment it certainly silenced their detractors. Hollywood Walk of Fame. The Stooges remain warmly remembered even after many years have passed and humor has adopted new forms. In 1983, they received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The many animated adventures, reissues, and remakes testify to their history. Even if the guys aren't there to see it, their legacy endures in all its breathtaking splendor. Fake Shm. As we already established, Shm unexpectedly passed away while many Stooges shorts were being produced. Repurposed footage and body duplicates shot from creative perspectives were used to finish the movie. Since then, the body duplicates employed to portray a deceased actor have earned the nickname Fake Shms. TV Rebirth. The Stooges had an unusual period throughout the 1950s. Moe and Larry were personally coping with the passing of Curly and Shemp Howard. Meanwhile, the act was professionally enjoying a fresh surge in popularity due to their television shorts. All 190 of the Stooges shorts had regular television airings by 1959. Curly Joe. At first, Joe DeRita had Shemp's hairstyle when he took over for the late Shemp in the Stooges act in the middle of the 1950s, but due to the group's television short success, DeRita was later ordered to completely shave his head and buzz his hair to resemble Curly Howard. In addition, he went as Curly Joe. Kooks Tour. The Stooges continued to perform live and in films and television shows throughout the 1960s. But by the decade's conclusion, aging had started to catch up with them, which rendered their customary slapstick antics impossible. The group tried to change their act towards the end of the decade to something more appropriate for their age. They recorded the pilot for Kooks Tour, a prospective travelogue and comedy hybrid program. The show would have followed the retired Stooges to a variety of dangerous, real-world locales throughout the globe, but catastrophe happened throughout the process of creation. Larry's Last Days. In 1969, just before the Kooks Tour pilot shooting wrapped up, Larry Fine had a major stroke that left him paralyzed. For the next 5 years, Fine would be confined to a wheelchair. Tragic outcome for someone who enjoyed dancing. Fine passed away in January 1975 after experiencing many additional strokes in late 1974. The Lost Stooge. Moe Howard hoped to keep the Stooges going after Fine's stroke. To play a new third Stooge, he enlisted the help of long-standing collaborator Emil Sitka, whose many appearances on Stooges shorts earned him the nickname the Fourth Stooge among fans. Sitka was supposed to portray Larry's brother, Harry, but it wasn't intended to be. The end. The Stooges, Moe, Curly Joe, and Emil Sitka, who had not yet made his screen debut, were set to appear in the movie Blazing Stewardesses by 1974. Publicity shots were shot and the casting was revealed. Nevertheless, Moe Howard received a lung cancer diagnosis just before filming. He promptly called it quits with the Stooges, and he died in March of the following year. The The Three Stooges officially ceased to exist as a group after this. ABC amps up the drama. The Three Stooges' legacy continued to expand in the years after Larry and Moe's deaths. By the year 2000, the comedic combo was still so well-liked that it was worthy of an extensively marketed ABC television movie. The Three Stooges, as the film was called, was mainly about the turmoil behind the scenes with the group. The movie received positive reviews and good ratings. Back on the big screen. In 2012, the Three Stooges made a comeback to the big screen. The Farrelly brothers directed the movie, although it wasn't a biography. Rather, it was a contemporary take on three iconic Stooges cartoons. A mild critical and economic disaster, the movie stars Chris Diamatopoulos, Sean Hayes, and Will Sasso as Moe, Larry, and Curly, respectively. Powerful enemy. The fact that Adolf Hitler was one of the Stooges' enemies was perhaps the greatest testament to their legacy. Indeed, in a true sense. The Stooges were featured in the 1940 short film You Nazi Spy, which directly parodied the Nazi leader. Hitler was so furious over the short that he put them on his personal death list as favored casualties. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon